Hello, everyone. Welcome to this, I would say, semi-impromptu webinar. We put this together relatively quickly, and it was because we hit 5,000 members in the Copywriting Collective. Most people watching this will probably be in the Copywriting Collective already. If you're not, there are links in multiple places. If someone could be so kind as to drop one in the Zoom chat, that would be amazing. But I imagine you probably got here from either the Reddit post or LinkedIn, which both had links on them. So join the Copywriting Collective if you're not in it. What is the Copywriting Collective? What is all this about? The Copywriting Collective was a group that started on September the 29th, 2019. And it started because a few copywriters on Reddit, on our copywriting, were like, hey, we don't know as much about copy as we'd like to, and we kind of want to learn with other people. Someone posted that, a guy called Mike, very awesome guy. A few of us were like, yeah, we'd like that too. So a Discord server was created. And lo and behold, nearly 3 years later, we have 5,000 plus members. This is called the 5,000 member stream, but we're actually now closer to 6,000 members than 5,000, which is crazy because that's happened in a week. So thank you for that. It's very, very encouraging. And the Copywriting Collective is all about helping you achieve your goals to be a copywriter. That's the simplest way it is. We do a lot of shit posting. There's a nice community feel, a lot of joking around, but ultimately we want you to succeed. We want you to get better, improve, and make more money. Because at the end of the day, if you're not doing that, then what's the point in spending so long reading all these dusty old words from dusty old men? The aim of this panel, which I'll hand over to John in a moment for, is to share some stories and some advice from people who have been where you are in that $0 mode, where either you've just heard about copywriting, maybe you've been trying it for a couple of weeks, you know it's something that you want to do, but you don't yet know how to make money from it. Most of us in this panel, maybe bar like one or two of us who came in from slightly different routes, we all started not knowing what the hell copywriting was, just finding out about it and then launching a freelance career. That's how the majority of us went about this. So if it was possible for us, it's possible for you. And lastly, thank you for being here, because we don't do the Copywriting Collective for money. It's completely free. There is no paid elements of it. We do it because we love seeing people succeed, because we had very generous mentors when we started. So thank you for being here, because you're the ones that make it what it is. And on that note, I will pass over to Jonathan, who can explain kind of what the format of this is and who we have in what order and why people should be excited and all that good stuff.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Alex. And I'm going to echo what Alex just said. Thank you so much to everyone who showed up, who is here to improve themselves as copywriters, who's here to hear all of our stories and get the motivation that it takes to sometimes push through that pain. Because I know, and everybody else in this panel knows, that it's not an easy task to go from $0 up to as much as like $18,000, which you'll hear from Gabriela, how she did that in a little bit, but in just 1 month, right? But everyone here has had their own journey. And that is really the reason why we're going deep into everyone's story on this panel, because we want to give you guys an idea of what is possible. Everyone starts from a different place. Everyone has different cultural backgrounds. Everyone has different educational backgrounds. Everyone has different work experience. Everyone has different cultural biases. We're all coming from somewhere that is so drastically different from everybody else, yet using the resources that we've created in the Copy Collective and using the mentorship that we've been giving through office hours and through Copy That and through the questions and through the critiques and through our DMs, and using these, I guess, outside resources as well. Everyone on this panel has gotten to a place where they're writing copy full time, and they're doing this as a career, something that they're passionate about and something that they're probably going to spend the rest of their lives doing. So we're going to start off with Cody, who, his story, one of my favorites for sure. Cody just, I don't know if it was 3 or 4 months ago, Cody was working full-time in construction as an electrician. So you can imagine waking up super early before the sun comes up, driving through the freezing cold weather out west in Canada to get to a construction site, to spend all day doing physical labor, to come home and then spend 4 to 6 hours still working to do copy because that is what he wants to do with the rest of his life, right? So you're going to hear from Cody how he was able to overcome those challenges of being physically, mentally exhausted every single day, but still building an extremely successful career now where he managed to beat out thousands of other applicants to work with Kyle Milligan, who you guys might know from his YouTube channel, one of the most popular copywriters on social media. So he's going to give you some insight into that. Afterwards, we're going to go for Elise's story. Elise, you might recognize her as the girl who picks your eggs, right? She used to work on a farm. And Elise just told us before this that she picked 20,000 eggs a day for a total of 25,000 eggs a week. She used to pick 25,000 eggs a week. So you can imagine the type of strain that that has on her body while she's also fighting a disease, while she's also fighting being British, right? There are so many things stacked against her. There's so many things stacked against her. And she managed to, I believe it was within just a period of 1 or 2 months, get to a place where she was writing copy full time after being laid off. So you're going to hear how she was able to do that so quickly. I think that Elise is the fastest success story that we have in the CC. So you'll learn from her exactly what that path was like. Then we're going to hear from Gabriela. Gabriela had probably more challenges than anybody else. BPD, depression, suicidal ideation, things that really every single day you have to wake up and you have to actively work to overcome. And she did it, and she works probably harder than anybody else I know. And she makes a lot more money than most of the other people I know. So there you go. There's a correlation. She's going to tell you exactly how she developed that work ethic, how she was able to move to a place where now she's doing 2 full-time copywriting gigs. She's working with me at AppSumo, and she's also working with one of the, I would assume, biggest pro-environmental companies in the US, and she's having a great time. So she'll tell you exactly what she does every single day to make that happen, to push through, to work hard, and to get to a place where she's more financially successful. She's probably in the top 5 people who make the most money in the CC. So that's Gabrielle for you. And then we're going to move into Marcelo's story. Now, if you don't know anything about Marcelo, you might be able to deduce from his name that he is not American, right? Marcelo is from Argentina, but that has not stopped him from getting American clients, getting paid in USD, and doing all of that while still learning to master English, right? Marcelo's first language is Spanish, and he writes copy in Spanish. He's in the financial space in Spanish, but he also writes copy in English. He does ads, he does landing pages, he does emails, and his American clients are so satisfied. I've heard the stories that he tells me about the American clients that he works with, and they love his copy. So Marcelo is going to tell you what it takes to go not only as someone who is not American, but also someone who is English second language and develop a successful career writing copy in English, and a few of the tips that he's picked up along the way. Then we're going to end on Warren, twin dad West, who more than anything else, he strives in his life for balance. Because Warren, he lost his job. He needed to make a he needed to make a career out of copywriting extremely quickly, and he managed to do that. And now he's in a place where he can enjoy writing copy, spending time with his wife, hanging out with his kids, and really just be happy living the Zen life exactly the way that he wants to. So for Warren, lifestyle is first, and that's what he's been able to give himself by developing a career as a copywriter. So those are our 5 fantastic panelists that you're about to hear from. Afterwards, we'll move into me and Alex and Sean and Luke, and we'll tell you guys a little bit of our stories, but that's going to be the format. So I will pass the mic over to Alex now, hear any final thoughts from him. And once Alex is done, we'll get into Cody's story and start with the guest speakers.
No, yeah, thank you very much for that well-articulated speech, John. Yeah, I'm just excited to get into these stories, so I'm not going to take up any more time. Let's hear them. Let's start with you, Cody. Take it away.
All right. So as John mentioned, I was picked up by Kyle Milligan, who is arguably one of the most well-known financial copywriters in the space right now, and arguably one of the most successful. And I did that. It had nothing to do with my writing. And you can get picked up by big clients and big companies, and it doesn't have to be about your writing. And I'll explain exactly how I did that in a second. But first, I'll start with my story like John said. So I was a construction worker. And in my first year of work, I already knew that this wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. It's hard, grueling, unforgiving work, and it pays okay. It's not great. So in my first year, on my break time, I was looking at ways to make money online. And the classic things came up. You see affiliate marketing and you see drop shipping, but I saw copywriting. And what pulled me towards that was originally that I could start without any capital because I was broke. I couldn't start a drop shipping store and put 10 grand into it. I couldn't spend 5 grand on ads for affiliate marketing, but I was told that for a copywriter, you just need a laptop, and I had that. So I began to pursue that immediately. And I mean, you might not like this part of the advice, but it goes very back to what Sean said. Fuck your hobbies, because I was working 8 to 12 hours a day. I'd come home at like 5 o'clock. I'd get up at 5 o'clock. I'd come home at 5 o'clock, and then I would write copy for the rest of the night. I didn't really go out. I didn't do much else besides that because I knew that the only way that I was going to get out of construction and stop feeling exhausted was to get a job writing copy. So that was my full focus. The relaxation and the hobbies, they were going to come later, right? So I started kind of digging into it, as I'm sure most of you have, and I found the CC, the Discord. And when I joined at that time, that was probably a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. It was very small. And I remember John welcomed me in right away. And at that point, I was still very skeptical about copywriting because you see online, right? It's like, well, you can make 10 grand a month. And I'm like, can you, or are you just trying to sell me a course? And then I met Sean and he proved it to me. And that was the day that I was like, okay, it is real. This is a real thing I can do because that guy's doing it. So that means I can do it, right? So from that day forward, I started chatting up Sean, John, Alex. I started talking to everybody because I needed to know what I could do. Because advice online is great, but I've never found something as valuable as advice from mentors I got directly in the CC. And it was soon after that I just started writing copy and pitching to financial publishers. And I know a lot of you know the Kyle Milligan story, but what you might not know is that I landed 2 full promotions with a financial publisher where I had 0 experience before I ever talked to Kyle. And there's 2 interesting things about that. One being that had nothing to do with me getting hired by Kyle at all. And the second thing being that was the only publisher that I really cold approached. I sent a couple emails, but the first real serious package I put together, I landed. And I think that the biggest takeaway from you guys for that, because I see this a lot, you want a mentor or you want to close a deal with someone who you believe is more successful or bigger than you. And I see a lot of people undervalue themselves right off the bat. And they go, I'd love to work for you for free. And like, I do anything I can to work with you. But what I found gave me the best success is realizing that whether they're a millionaire or a billionaire, they're just a person and they have the exact same, needs and worries and emotions and fears as anybody else. And people don't, I know like some people might like getting sucked up to and praised, but generally what I've found is most of these people, it makes them uncomfortable, and they're not likely to work with you if you're like, wow, you're amazing. I really look up to you. That's never how I approached it. So I emailed a financial publisher and all I wrote was, I started with value and I went, here, I wrote this for you. You can test it. I don't expect to be paid for it. I'd love to get it pushed through legal. I'd love to see how it does. And if you like it, I would love to work with you further. And that was it. It was very simple. There was no, I wasn't trying to schmooze them at all. I just said, I have a service for you and I'm going to give you a sample of it and test it. See how you like it. It was not 3 days after that they messaged me back and they said, when can you start on a promotion? We love the emails. And that was it, a $5,000 contract. And then I was like, okay, perfect. I can quit my job now. I can do this. It's real. So I started working with them. I did those 2 promotions. And that's when I saw the opportunity with Kyle come up. I just saw it on LinkedIn or whatever, because I had added him previously because I bought his book. And I was like, hey, dude, I love your book. And he was like, thanks. I hope you make $1 million. And then the next follow-up was a year later and it went, hey, I heard you're looking for writers. Like, I would love to write with you. I've been working on it since I bought your book, But that was a Hail Mary. I didn't expect an answer. I didn't expect anything. I just figured I would shoot for it and we'll see what happens. And then I didn't hear anything for about a week. So I did what everyone here should be doing and is following up, right? So I didn't hear from him for a week and I messaged him. I didn't hear from him for, I think, another, maybe even almost 2 weeks after that. I messaged him again. All I said was, if there's anything that I can do to make your decision easier, let me know, because I'm really interested in this. And then he finally got back to me and he was like, hey, dude, I've had 1,050 applicants, so I'm working through it, but I'll get to you eventually. And I said, okay. And then, so I think a big part, and this is what Kyle told me, because we went through the interview process, and you have to be personable, and like they have to make them like you. I knew I was coming into this with very little skills, especially compared to Kyle Milligan. So I wasn't about to come in and be like, I can boost your conversion rates and you'll get, I write killer copy. I went into it saying like, I'm new, I'm brand new at this, but I want this more than anything else in the world. I spend 20 hours a week in my free time when I'm not working writing copy just to practice. And that was what first got him interested. And this is what really closed him. So he followed up and he said, I need 5 references from you from previous jobs, good or bad. I want to talk to your previous employers. And yeah, for sure. So I wrote him up 5 references, and then he asked me, what is this person going to say about you? So I told him what I thought, right? And he said that for all 5. And then he was like, great, I'm going to check your references and I'll be in touch. And I was like, okay, fingers crossed. Like I still, at this point, I didn't expect anything, I was just like, okay. And then he called me like 3 days later after he got through the references, and he was like, you have the job. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, why? And he was like, because when I called your references, because I remember at this point, I told him, on the weekends, I'm not going out, I'm writing copy. During the weekday when I come home, I'm not hanging out with friends, I'm writing copy. This is what I want. So when he called those references, every single one corroborated that story. My last boss, who was my journeyman, he goes, I try to take him for a beer on the weekend, but I can't. He's always writing copy. I try and take him out after work for dinner. I can't. He's always writing copy. And every single one of my bosses, they didn't all corroborate that because some of them didn't know me at that point. But every single one of them corroborated the story that when Cody wants something, he's driven to go get it. And that was exactly what Kyle was looking for, because copywriting is not an easy industry. When you're staring at a blank page, it's difficult. And what he calls it is the dip. So you're going to hit a point in your copywriting career, some of you may have hit it already, that you feel like, I can't do this, or I want to give up, or any facet of those emotions. And the people that succeed have to push through that dip. And that was why he got hired. It's because I pushed through his dip in the interview process, and I'd showed every previous boss that I would push through that dip. And that was it. And now I'm a full-time financial copywriter.
Man, I love that story so much. Cody, you're an absolute gem. Like, seriously, we've known each other for, I guess, getting on for 1.5 years, 2 years now. It's been an absolute pleasure from day one. And for all those reasons, like I said, I knew you were going to make it because you're just driven every day, like always asking questions, never ceasing. So thank you for that, man. I love you so much. Who have we got next, Jonathan? Who is
I love you too, Alex.
Oh, who's the next the next on the list?
Next up, we've got Elise.
Elise, let's go.
Elise.
I'm glad I had a little pop-up reminding me to unmute myself, because I have a habit of not doing that. So Jonathan kind of touched base on my journey for copywriting. Mine started, strangely enough, it started around 4 years ago. Although I only started writing copy in January, the whole journey and how it came about, I would say, started 4 years ago. So 4 years ago, around this time of year, actually, it was like summertime, and I went in to have a random operation on my tooth. I had an impacted wisdom tooth. It was a straight sort of like in and out job. Came round from that, and they're like, yeah, that's great, like everything went well. And then I woke up sort of like from the anesthesia, and I was like, my throat really hurts, but I thought it was just having things move about my mouth. And then the next day it was like a bit more sore. I went to the doctors and they said, oh yeah, you might have an infection, so they gave me some antibiotics. And over the next couple of days it kind of got worse and worse. And to cut a very long story short, I ended up with a very bad infection, so bad that I ended up in A&E with my throat closed up. I then got rushed to hospital and was put in resuscitation, and it was just not a good time, considering I just went in for a tooth operation. You will see how this relates to copy in a minute, but just bear with me. So that was 4 years ago. And at the time, it was like a really good time in my life. I'd just been offered what was my dream job. It was a play worker in a children's hospital. So basically my sole job was to go in there and try and make the kids a bit happier. And I was working in a school at the time, so I was like, that's great. And then a couple of weeks after this whole thing happened at the hospital, they managed to get the infection under control. And basically it was a very unlucky accident. And when they were removing my tooth, they also cut the back of my throat, which got infected. They didn't think to tell me that, but it got infected, and basically the infection took over my body. But yeah, so anyway, a couple of weeks later, I was just going about my day. I was like, oh, my finger hurts a little bit. I wondered like what happened. I hadn't really done anything. Had plans to start the job in 2 or 3 months. So it's for the NHS. So these things take time with the references and stuff. But I went to the doctors and they were like, oh, you know, that's a bit weird, but we'll send you to a rheumatologist just in case to rule things out. And basically a couple of months later, I was due to start 3 weeks after my hospital appointment, but they're like, oh, like, I'm really sorry, but you've got psoriatic arthritis, which is arthritis, but it's not localized to one joint. And they basically said that, you know, we wouldn't recommend you starting work in a hospital because we're going to have to put you on this really strong medication. It's like a chemotherapy medication, but that will lower your immune system. So even going about your day-to-day life, you probably pick up more bugs and stuff, but definitely don't take the job in the hospital. So I kind of had to kind of give that up. And it was one of those things where it was like, I went in the room and I was like really optimistic, like, oh, it's probably just, you know, like something wrong with my bone. And my whole life had kind of changed in the half-hour appointment that I was in there. My dream job that I was about to start, I was going to move out on my own to start this job, and then it just kind of like been taken away. I'd also given in my notice at my old job, which meant that I then couldn't get that job back. So I was without a job, and I ended up working on the farm just as a kind of job, which looking back now probably wasn't the best idea. Like with arthritis, with a bad record with health, a physical manual job probably wasn't ideal, especially with the British weather. But I didn't want to be sat at home feeling sorry for myself. So yeah, I started work on the farm. It was very long days, early mornings. I think like the same with Cody. I was leaving at like 6:30 in the morning, and yeah, it was just very strenuous. And it got to the point where it was like, I don't think this is very sustainable. But then COVID happened, and everything kind of got thrown about. And because of the medication that I was on, it made me, well, more likely to get COVID. And secondly, if I got COVID, it would be very bad because my immune system wouldn't have been able to fought it off. So at that time, I was living in a house share. I was only working part-time on the farm and earning minimum wage. So the rents down here are crazy and I couldn't afford to live on my own. But unfortunately, the people that I was living with, trying to think of like a nice way to say this, but they weren't particularly helpful when it came to being aware that they were living with somebody who was more vulnerable. Like I was on the shielding list, which basically the government said that you shouldn't really leave the house unless you can avoid it. And I was like, okay, but everyone else in my household is leaving. So I then had to take a flat on by myself. And I was already, this is in July last year, I was already struggling to pay rent with my job. And then in November, I got glandular fever, which I don't know if any of you've had, but it's not the best. I was pretty much bedbound for 6 weeks all over Christmas, and I had to basically say to the job at the farm, like, I can't carry on working because I don't know how soon I'm going to get better. Unfortunately, with arthritis, it's an autoimmune disease, so sometimes you can get a cold and it'll be fine and it's gone within a week, but other times it can completely knock you for six. And yeah, unfortunately with glandular fever, it kind of wiped me out. So I had to give up the job on my farm. I was then stuck paying rent on a flat that I couldn't afford to live there with my wages. My monthly income was zero. And in January, I was like, I need to earn money and I need to earn it fast. And I kind of like had the idea of copywriting. I think I'd seen an advert maybe like at the end of 2021, but I was already like too knackered with work. But then I was like, I have nothing else I can do. At that time, COVID was pretty bad in the UK again, and I was like, I don't really want to go and get a job in a shop where I'm open to all these jams. So I was like, right, I'm going to have to just go balls to the wall with this. And that's pretty much what I did. So I think, I can't see it here, but I'm pretty sure my first message on the Discord was the 13th of January, where I said that I was new to copywriting. I think I just finished Alex's video on that day. So yeah, I'd only heard about copywriting a few months before. I'd watched the video and I was like, I'm going to have to do everything. So I was jobless. I had no income. I think I was living on about £10 per week. So I needed to make it work. And I dedicated like 10 hours a day learning copy. And the good thing was I could do it from my bed. So although I hadn't recovered from glandular fever, I was just laying in bed and like watching videos. I was reading books. I was hanging out on the Discord, like even just in general chat. You learn so much about copy, even if you're not physically writing it, you're not hand copying notes and stuff. Just hanging around successful people. And like Cody was saying, it's very well seeing people on YouTube, on Instagram saying, oh, I earn 20 grand a month. It's like, do you earn 20 grand a month from copywriting, or are you selling a course? And hanging around people that genuinely do earn that kind of money, that are not trying to sell you a course, they're just trying to help you out, is something that's like really, it's wholesome. Like the whole vibe is wholesome. So yeah, basically I just threw myself into learning copy. And after about a week, I was like, I need to get myself on Upwork, because what I didn't realize was Upwork do hold your money for a little while, which I didn't know, but I was just like, I don't care. So I was taking any jobs. I think the first jobs I took were, I got $25 to rewrite a whole website for a paving company, and also what's the other one? A pool servicing company, which took me hours, and I got $25. But I also got the experience, and I got the feedback on my profile, which then led on to more. And then yeah, I was just applying for any job that I could, because I wanted to learn, I wanted to get better. And I think it, like much like how I got into copywriting in the first place, like I had to do that. And if someone is paying you, if you send a proposal and someone's like, okay, yeah, I'll give you a shot, you have to do it. You have to do a good job, or as good a job as you can. So kind of like throwing yourself in at the deep end for me is what really worked. So yeah, I sort of carried on with that for a couple of weeks, and I think then I saw a really audacious advert for someone who wanted a whole funnel, an entire funnel. So like it was for a webinar, like pre and post webinar. It was for Facebook ads. It was for landing page copy. And I was like, I'm going to apply. And I don't know why I did. I still don't know why, because now I probably wouldn't have applied for it. But I was like, I'm going to apply. So I applied. And then the guy was like, oh, do you want to jump on a Zoom call? I was like, yeah, obviously. Inside, I was like, no, absolutely not. But I heavily undersold my services on that one. I think I did the entire funnel for like, I think it was $750 or something, which was like 2 weeks work. I was like, oh my God, someone's paying me this money, which was like, it worked out what I'd earn on a whole month on the farm anyway. So I was like, this is incredible. Like, this is great. So I did it, and I did it the best I could. The client was really happy, and I was like, oh, maybe there's something in this. Maybe they're not lying. Like this has got some legs, this one. So I carried on. And then I just kind of got into the habit of applying for jobs that I'm very much underqualified for. It's almost like a sort of game. I saw a job pop up for a full-time email copywriter at an agency for most of their clients were supplement brands. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. Like, I've literally been learning copy for 6 weeks. Like, I can definitely do that. So I applied for it. And then I think the process was you had to like fill in a Google form to talk about your experience, which obviously I didn't have, but I just focused it. It was like kind of like I kind of directed him in other directions. I was like, let's just ignore the fact I have I learned this 6 weeks ago. But yeah, and then I jumped on a call with him, and he was like, can you send me like a sample? Like, if I give you a supplement, can you write it? And I did, and I went on the Discord and was like, this is what I've written, can somebody critique it? Which I did, and that happened. Sent it off, and then got a call, and he was like, oh, I'd like to offer you the job. So from literally within 6 weeks of starting to learn copy, I then landed the full-time agency job. But I think the main takeaway from that is that if you don't apply the things, if you don't put yourself out there, then you won't get it. Like, I could have seen that job and been like, no, like that's way too above my level. Like I can't do that. And then I wouldn't have known that A, I could do it, and B, I wouldn't have even had the opportunity to do it. I think like the worst thing that you can do is to limit yourself. And it sounds like so cliche, but like the worst thing someone can say is no. Like for every job I've got on Upwork and off Upwork, I've probably applied for 10 jobs and I will get one. So it's not like I've got every single job I've applied for. That's not the case. But if you don't apply, then you're not going to get it. So I would say as well, I think another mindset shift is that people aren't expecting you to be like a world-renowned copywriter. I mean, some people on this panel, just ignore this. But like if you're on Upwork, say, and someone wants like a welcome series email and they're going to give you $500, like they're not expecting Kyle Milligan level emails, but they are wanting you to be better than them. Like you just need to be 1 or 2 steps up the ladder to them, because you're like not only taking that task off their to-do list, but if you've been hanging out in the copywriting collective, if you've been learning through all our resources, then it's likely that you will be 3 or 4 times better than they can do themselves. And ultimately that's what they want. So don't disqualify yourself is what I'm saying. Just put yourself out there. Like, you are going to get it wrong. You're going to write copy that bombs. You're going to write copy that doesn't perform well. You're going to get told no. You're going to lose jobs, and that's just part of it. But like, it's not about that. You just have to keep going, because if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no. So if you're wondering, can I do this? Yes, you can. I am proof, as are every single member on this panel. The worst that somebody can say is no, and I'm telling you now, no. So you've already been told no. So you may as well go and try and get as many jobs as you can, and try and do what you can, because you know, this is, as you will find out from this panel, this is such a wide range of people, and there is such a culture of, like on Instagram, on TikTok, of all these people that are sort of like cut and paste versions of all these gurus, like with their Lamborghinis and stuff, and you're thinking, yeah, but that couldn't be me, and it probably couldn't, but we're just like everyday folks, and we have all done it, and it's not luck, it's not something special within inside of us. We have just put into action what we've learned from all the resources on here, and yeah, I'd say we've done pretty all right from it.
Phenomenal, Elise. Thank you very much. That was brilliant. And as people are saying in the chat, gems, powerful lessons, amazing, fantastic inspiration. Like, I don't think there's anything else I could add to that. So thank you so much, Elise. Everyone really enjoyed that. John, who have we got up next?
Up next, we have Gabriela.
All right, guys. First of all, amazing. I will say that, yeah, like John said, my perspective on things is just different in terms of the very specific obstacles that I had to face. Like when I found the CC, which I found the CC actually on Reddit, just randomly. My cat had just died, I think like a week before, very suddenly, not planned. I was just coming off of like suicide watch, you know, just not doing well, not doing great. And I had like no career. I really didn't. I was doing just like random things because that's what one does. You know, you just have to support yourself. But I found the CC one day when I was scrolling through Reddit, the copywriting subreddit, and there was like a panel, and I just clicked the link, and half of these beautiful faces were here talking about copy and talking about why it's awesome and how they came and discovered it and how they like succeeded at it. And I was like, what? This is crazy. Not like me crazy, but different kind of crazy. And so I joined the CC, and I was like, can you imagine like just stumbling into a place with free resources, first of all, just totally free, and really successful people, super nice people too, like willing to help. I mean, there's a freaking question section for just like anything you're wondering about, and a critique section. Like, imagine finding that and thinking, there's no way I can do it. There's just literally no way. Like, I have everything I need, and yet intrinsically, because of who I am, there's no way I can do it. And that is a really difficult place to dig yourself out of. It's a place that I've been in for most of my life, so this wasn't like a novel feeling. But I think finding the CC and meeting the people that I met and being so close to something that felt really, really right, it really forced me to reevaluate what I think. Oh my God, guys, I'm not a Tony Robbins stan. That's not who I am, but I have listened to some of his stuff. And the way I had to look at it was like, which pain am I willing to tolerate more? You know, like the pain of mental illness or the pain of giving up on yourself, you know? And like, so that was a conversation I had to have with myself. But I decided to move along. I decided to truck along and just try. I decided to try, because really there's no guarantee. And there's especially no guarantee if you don't try at all. So I read the books, I studied copy, I did handwriting copy. I talked to Alex, who's Alex, so generous. Talked to Alex at length about things and learned a lot from him, and then bothered John. I say bothered, he said we became friends. All right. But I definitely was up in his DMs. Don't recommend that. Just, that was my approach and it worked. So whatever. But he helped me break down a lot of copy, and we talked a lot about concepts, and I thought I was doing really well. You know, I was like, this is great, I'm moving forward. And then I got an email from it was totally like cold, you know, it was like, they just did I got an email from a SaaS company, like a HR tech company. They have an HR platform, and they were like, we're looking for copywriters. I know they just scraped my LinkedIn. I like happened to put that in my profile, so they just scraped it, reached out, and it was an opportunity. And I was like, I can't do this. There's no way. And you know what, guys? I fucking didn't. It bombed. It was horrible. It was a terrible time. It didn't go anywhere. It was, in fact, they were like, I don't think I did a bad job. It just wasn't the right fit. Total dumpster fire. And you can imagine, or at least I would hope you don't have to imagine, but I'll let you know that it was really hard to accept, because not only was it just an obstacle, like just a real obstacle, like, oh, that didn't work out, now I have to try something else. It was it created a very big mental block, because it really, in my mind, reinforced the belief that like I could never do it. I'm intrinsically a failure. I'm not good, and like I never will be. And that created a lot of anxiety, more depression, a lot of fear. And I really, really almost let that completely just drive the car for me at that point. I won't lie. There was a period of time where I was like really debating, like, is this it for me? You know, but again, you know, if you struggle with mental illness, like, you always have to kind of question yourself, like, is this a thought that's rooted in fact, or is this rooted in my emotions, right? Like, is this real or is this fake? And so I had to do a lot of that mental gymnastics. But I kept remembering and kept reminding myself that like I was really hooked. I was really hooked to the industry, to the like just all, like everything I'd studied. I was like, I'm so hooked. I'm like addicted to it. Probably not the best language, but I was definitely really into it. And I just knew that I couldn't tolerate saying no to myself, right? I guess like Elise said, right? Like, people will say no to you all the time, but if you say no to yourself, I mean, that's the loudest no you'll ever hear. Is just, I can't do it. So I was almost saying no to myself. I really was, but I was hooked. So I decided, let's keep trying. let's keep trying. It was painful. It was really hard, because if you're trying something and you're screaming at yourself the whole time internally, and I mean fucking screaming, it's really hard to focus, and like keep, going. But I have white knuckled my entire life, so this was nothing new. But it was big stakes, because I was like, this is not just a job. This is not school. This is not a relationship. This felt like a passion. And I've described it to other people, but like it felt like almost like a identity alignment in a way. I felt like this is perfectly suited to my specific skills, or like what I perceive to be my skills. So I decided to keep going. And then Warren, actually, who's also on this panel, helped me out with like some Upwork stuff, like setting up my profile and getting me started on Upwork, which great place to start. We love Upwork. And I landed my first gig on Upwork for $5,000. It was fucking ridiculous. I was like, oh, I definitely can't do that. and I'm like, Elise, I had the meeting and he was asking me questions and I was like, we are going to answer this in a savvy way. Like we're not going to just be super direct about what we don't know. We are going to finesse this, and finesse it I did for $5K. It was a funnel. It was a lot of stuff. Great guy. It was a great experience. And I did it, and I managed to like land that opportunity. But I really thought I was going to fail. And I'll be honest, like that fear of failure or self-defeating person, like part of my personality that's very self-defeating, it didn't really go away after that. It didn't solve anything. I don't think it ever will, to be honest. Mental disorders be like, but that happened. And then I caught wind from John of another opportunity. First of all, that was my only Upwork gig. So, well, I don't know about that. But I moved on very, very soon after to an opportunity that John had presented to me for a writing job at AppSumo. It was like a contract job. They were just looking to add one more writer. AppSumo being this like tech company, SaaS marketplace, super quirky, cute, if you've ever heard of it. And I remember when he messaged me, he was like, hey, I have this opportunity. Are you game with me saying that you're like, to pass along your email, right, to the person who's hiring? And I said, John, I literally questioned him. I like demanded to know why he chose me. I was like, this is not why. No, stop, quit the cat, man. Like, get out of here. And he was like, you're funny and you work really hard and I think you can do it. And I think I cried. I'm pretty sure I cried because I was like, yeah, let me write that down. Let me tattoo that on my fucking body. Sorry, I'm cursing so much. I'm the mouth of a sailor. So I applied for the writing position. And I remember we had to do a test assignment. First of all, you will have to do test assignments sometimes, and that's okay. I did my test assignment, and I remember rewriting it 4 times. A lot. It was a lot. It was like a landing page, like some SaaS copy for just the way that they do things. So I remember writing it like 4 times, and John was like, yeah, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. This isn't good. Like, you have to keep going if you want it. I was like, fuck it. So I did that. And then I submitted it. And then John called me, I think the next day, and was like, do you have a few seconds to chat? I said, for you, anything, Jonathan. And he said, so they want to bring you on as an editor. They actually just want to hire you as an editor because they really loved your piece, and that's what they want. So when they call you and they set up a meeting with you, just act surprised. But that's what they want. And that's what happened, guys. They actually asked me to do like a little editing assignment, submitted that, then I got the job. And now I'm on a monthly retainer with them. I edit a ton. I work with John, which is as fun as it sounds. And, the only reason that happened was because I just kept trying. Did I think I could do it? No. But did I know that I wanted to try? Absolutely. I think someone in the chat said, I'm struggling with motivation. They said that in the very beginning. And my immediate reaction to that is, yeah, that's why you shouldn't rely on it. Never rely on motivation, never, because that ebbs and flows. So that's my first tip. So I got the position with AppSumo at the same time. Whilst I was in the interview process, Jonathan once again reached out to me and other people about this other opportunity to write for a really big company. They were launching like a product, they needed a writer, and there was a test assignment to write like a script for this topic, and I was up against some pretty fucking awesome people, dude, for real. People in the CC, people on this channel. And oh my gosh, guys, when I say that I rewrote that piece over and over, because Jonathan kept telling me, this is not good. This is not good enough. This isn't going to get you where you want to be, which is great. It's always good to have a very honest opinion, especially when you're writing copy. But I remember, rewriting the script maybe like 5 times before I decided, okay, this is due literally tomorrow. I am defeated. I'm going to bed. And I laid in bed and I just kept thinking, what am I going to say to John? What am I going to say to anyone? What am I going to say to myself? Like, oh, I've decided to quit because it was hard, or because it wasn't, I don't know, like, what was I going to say? And I remember feeling just so disappointed. And I thought, that's a choice, to feel disappointed because of that action. I could also make a different choice. So I woke up, got out of bed, and I banged out my last ditch effort at like 2 a.m. And then I landed the job after, interviews and whatever, but I got it. And I remember accepting AppSumo's job. And then I remember accepting this person's job offer like literally the day after. And it's just been a lot of writing, a lot of work ever since. But, like John said, I don't know why John keeps talking about how much money I make, bro. Like, stop doing that. I didn't ask you to say that. But yes, I am making some money right now. And, I think there are a lot of things that brought me here, right? Knowing some people, knowing John, everyone. So luck, I guess, at a certain point. But I want to say, I don't know if anyone here has ever like thought about or struggled with anxiety in particular, or like fear. But they always say like the biggest, the best way to overcome anxiety is to just do the thing you're anxious about. Like, just do it, just go ahead, because action will breed confidence, which breeds competence, which breeds mastery. And it's this whole chain of like awesomeness. So I think my biggest tip for everyone here in terms of like starting out or like continuing or advancing or making bigger decisions or trying out new things, is just like, you have to just do it. You really do. Even when you're really scared, even when you feel defeated, when you feel super insecure, when you're literally being told that your copy sucks total butt, like, you just have to do it. And you don't know if you're doing it and you're going to get something out of it, but at least you tried. And you don't have to take big steps. You can just take small steps every day, constantly pushing yourself towards wherever you want to be. And this has gotten me this far. It's kept me alive, not to be dramatic, but it has. And it's really the key. I think it's really the key to getting where you need to be. And like Elise said, it is kind of cliche, right? But you really are the only one standing in your way. I mean, there are some circumstances and situations that are out of your control, but if you don't even take the first step, that's on you. That's literally on you. So yeah, guys, like, that's it. I don't think that's my story. So anyway.
And another fantastic one. There's a reason we have these panelists on for everyone watching. Gabs, like, there's so much I could say. Story of persistence, mindset shift, of the power of networking, amazing lessons coming out, and rightfully so. Everyone in the chat is mirroring that. Again, an inspiration, and so many people resonated with your story, particularly your struggles and overcoming that. So thank you so much for sharing. I think we will really appreciate how much you shared there. So thank you. All right, John, number 4, who we got?
Number 4, we have the man, the legend, Marcelo. There he is.
Oof. All right. How going after that? Well, I'm Marcelo. As Sean told you, I'm a copywriter from Argentina. My native language is the Spanish. And we learn a little of English, but not a lot in school here. So this is going to be mostly about how the difficulties about getting a job abroad and how to overcome those one, especially because I know a lot of people in this city, they are not native speakers. So there are a lot of people from the India, a lot of people from South America too, from different parts of the world who speak different languages. But we all, or most of us, aim to get jobs in English for English clients. So first of all, I love hear all these stories. You know, Gabriela, Elizabeth, Cody. They're really inspiring. I think something they all share in common is how somehow copywriting changed our life. So we all had different kind of struggles. We come from different backgrounds, but through copywriting, which is actually, it's not the magical, it's just finding your place in the world, right? Finding what you want to do, finding that purpose, and a way of life, a way of sustaining your life too. That literally changed our life. And I think that's something that makes special this city. This is a place where we can all share our personal stories without fear and without being judged. We can find friends that we actually meet with our friends. I already had met up with some Spanish-speaking copywriters. I will have a meetup with Sean in the near future too, and I hope to meet in person a lot of more people in the city, because I think all of us are great, and I really enjoy spending time with you. So I think that's one of the great things you can find here. You can find friends, right? And even accountability. You can find people that actually help you push your goals, which is super important. And even more important, this is a place where you find friends. It's not a place where you enter to the CC and there is I don't know, the CC is just a big funnel, right? Actually, we have that show because most of the people that should join the CC, they think it's a funnel because the world of marketing is full of funnels, and everyone's trying to cash from people. So we have this meme, like Alex pointed out his share, like deep in the funnel, because every time we do something for free, we're expecting some people to believe that it's actually a funnel, but it's not. It's just we're really grateful for the friends we made here, and we want to share our stories and inspire new copywriters to follow their passion. So it's all about positivity here, and that's one of the most important things of the CC. And it's very important to have someone holding your back. That it's very important when someone has your back. When I started, for example, it's incredible because it was completely different. I was completely alone. Back then, I was studying social communications, a career that practically guarantees you unemployment here in my country, especially if you come from a public university and you have no connections. So of course, I didn't know that at the time. I studied communications because that was my passion. I saw that, and I wanted to believe it was science. But it actually is very different from that. That was an alarm. So, well, as you can imagine, those were very dark days for me. I don't come from a rich family, or actually, let me be more honest at that. My parents are dead broke. or word that broke. My country, if you know anything about Argentina, is that it's a country in constant crisis, and every year it gets worse. If you hear anything from Argentina, it's just bad things lately. So it's always in crisis. When I was studying, at some point I will spend almost 30 days without eating, no cap. And not because I wanted, but because I literally had no money to afford food at university. And some days I will be there from 8 a.m. to 9 or 10 p.m. because of disparity between classes, and I will just save my money for the bus. I won't have anything. So I will spend hours stressing over my future, feeling alone and isolated, watching everyone close to me also struggling to survive, which is also sadly common here in Argentina. And when you're in that position, it feels as if the entire world was doomed. It truly feels as if there was no hope for anybody, not only for you, but for anybody around you. So the CC truly changed that for me, and that's something I'm very grateful for. It gave me a place to feel like I'm home. It also allows me to hear stories from a lot of people that were in bad positions and they overcame all these challenges. And we have a success channel, which is literally daily motivation, because every day, literally people posting how they made it in copywriting, which is awesome. I think that's one of the best channels we have in the city. Here also I learned a lot of business, a lot of marketing, copywriting, of course, even investment, because one big thing in copywriting, one of my passions in copywriting is financial copywriting. Ever since I started learning about copywriting, I started learning about financial with financial sales leaders and more. And since we have a few financial copywriters here, like Shan, like Cody, and other copywriters, it's also a chance to learn about investment, which is this huge world, right? Which is very interesting too. So I got to learn about all the stuff. I even found the courage to start looking for shops abroad in the US and Europe when I was just learning English. And that's the thing, when I arrived at the CC, I could barely write in English. I was still learning. I had developed this capacity to hear and understand, right, and read and understand as far as it was writing in simple English, right? That's just a simple language. But when it came to writing, I couldn't write it. Like I was scared of writing the C, and actually the first months I barely wrote anything, because every time I wanted to write anything, I would go to internet and type just to see that everything I was writing was correct, right? And even so, not every time I will find the answers, not every time I will find if that was the right way. So sometimes I will delete everything. So I was learning English to that point. I mean, I was just literally, I could barely write. So that was quite challenging. Especially because you can get jobs as copywriter here. So I knew English was the way. Here in Argentina, it's still a very new thing. And as I told you before, country in crisis, right? Not the best place to find a job if you want financial freedom of any kind. So the places who pay for copywriting here are just a few of them. Luckily, I ended up landing in one of them too. I'll talk about that later. But still, I knew that if I wanted to make it as a copywriter, I would have to master my English plus master my copywriting. So I had those two challenges, and I decided, I mean, the problem is that in order to achieve that, I would have to spend literally years learning, right? People who learn English, for example, they have to spend years just to be able to talk in a normal way. And if on top of that I want to learn copywriting, then that was just going to be a lot of learning. So what I decided is to make a shift in my life. I had to change everything about it. I had to change the way I consume movies, the way I watch YouTube videos, the way I read books, my mindset, for example, everything. Like I started to do everything in English. And also I started to learn to read books about copywriting in English, so I could exercise my English as I was learning my copy. So that really helped me a lot, because it's a very useful way of learning both the language and the skills. And even as I started an Instagram account where I will write one story a day. I'm a huge fan of fantasy stories. I love Tolkien. The other day we watched the entire Tolkien trilogy with Sean. That was like 12 hours, I think. That's crazy because it's the extended version, right? So since I'm a sucker for fantasy, my idea was to practice English, just writing every day. And since I love stories, I will write the stories and upload them to an Instagram account just as practice, you know. What I wasn't expected is that people started liking the stories. Now the account slowly started growing, and now the account, it has 70,000 followers, which is crazy. I wasn't expecting that at all. And even from that account, what's crazy is that I got my first copywriting client thanks to that account. You know, when I was still trying to learn copywriting and trying to find clients, one client found me through that account, which was great. So one of the things I learned from that is that it's like Elise mentioned, you have to put yourself up there, right? It's like maybe you start doing things to improve your copywriting. That's great. To overcome any hurdles that you have, that's great. But you necessarily have to start. You have to do something actively to put yourself up there. And in my case, the account was my first step, because I got to reach an audience of people that actually liked what I was doing. And like just the fact of being out there, you know, just the fact of doing something actively to go somewhere, that makes a huge difference. So when you're not a native, one of the great things you have to know about copy is that it's more about ideas than language. And this is one of the main shifts I made when I started learning. And it's something that I think is great, because that means anybody, you don't have to be a native speaker. You can write great copywriting if you understand the fundamentals of the copy. Because the language is, a lot of people think copywriting is just finding the right word, like just that they will find persuasion just by tweaking the meaning of words, because some words have slight different meaning than others. And yeah, that helps in some way, but actually what really makes a piece of copywriting good is to have an argument. So all the fundamentals you have there, the big idea, the mechanism, all these things you learn, it doesn't matter the language. You can write them in Spanish and then replicate them in English and replicate them in Portuguese and in Chinese and any language you want, because it's the ideas what end up selling, what end up being convincing, not just the language. Once I learned that changed a lot my perspective on copywriting, and that made me realize it was actually possible to make it. You know, there are a lot of books are great to learn fundamentals, but if you go to the CC, for example, if you're just starting out, if you go to the CC, there's a channel called, I'm trying to see it now, but it's a channel, the channel guides, how to start copywriting. If you're really starting, I highly recommend you to go there, go through Alex 6 hours video, because that's one of the best things. Like when I watched it, like I think he launched it at the end of the last year. When I watched it, I was thinking, wow, I wish I had seen this when I was just starting out, because everything you need is right there. It's literally 6 hours of value, 6 or 4 hours of value, condensed in one single video, totally worth it. It's even more important than any course, like any of these. I won't mention gurus, but like anyone who tries to teach you about copywriting, you can just go to Alex's video and he will teach you how to write the copy. And then you can start reading some books, and there's a section of recommended books, also great resources. So everything you need is right there, it's for free. It's not a funnel or anything like that, literally. So great resource. And if you can understand English, then you can understand this and then replicate it in any language. If you want to write in English, you can replicate in English. You want to write for another language, you can replicate it. Once you understand these fundamentals, right? So I think this CC really helped me a lot. Like I think I spent already hundreds of hours talking with Sean, for example, or reading things that people share, watching the live streams with Sean and Alex and Rod and Luke, also super helpful. And just a lot of people here was sharing resources, answering questions. It really helps you a lot to improve your skills. So I think one of the things one of the goals with this presentation for me, right, is just to let you know that the struggle is real for a lot of people. Like there is always some kind of struggle. It's not like a straight path. For example, even when I improved my copywriting to the point that now I can confidently speak in English and write in English and make sure what I write is not broken English, right? It's just that has good grammar. Even so, I still lost chances because people in the US, some companies, in other words, they just go and work with people abroad, right? So it's not like you will always have these hurdles. You will always have these things that stop you and even make you wonder if you should keep trying. But the thing is that you have to keep trying. You have to keep pushing, despite emotion, despite lack of motivation, because at the end of the day, it's more about what you do than what you feel. So even if you don't feel at your best, if you keep trying, if you do like Gabriela and wake up 2 a.m. to finish your script, for example, that truly changed a lot. That truly helps you, and that increases your chances of making it as a copywriter. Plus, don't miss the deadlines. Never miss the deadlines. I learned that's one of the most important things for clients. Sometimes even more important than the copy itself is the deadline itself, especially for agencies. So that is super important too. But yeah, that was my story.
Another round of applause. I mean, Marcelo, we've known each other for a long time as well. We've spoken about far more than just copy. We've discussed fiction, stories, video games. I love you, man. Thank you for such a unique perspective on all this. And again, just from the chat, I can tell it's helping out so many people, not even just non-Anglosphere people. Everyone is taking loads of inspiration from your story, and you continue to be an inspiration to everyone in the CC. So thank you very much. And now on to our last person, Jonathan. Please do the honors.
Up next, we have Twin Dad, the one, the only, Warren West.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much. This has been crazy. I mean, just hearing everybody's stories, super inspirational. And I'll be somewhat brief in case my twins start crying. But yeah, so 2021, I lost my job. I was working with a startup, and they were really ambitious, and they just kind of like stopped paying me, but promising that they were going to pay me. So they're just kind of like dragging it out, and you know, my bills are coming in and they're not getting paid, and my employer's not paying me, and I'm not like collecting unemployment because I'm waiting to get paid. So things were getting like pretty desperate. And my wife at the time was pregnant with twins, our first kids. So talk about like motivation. I had to figure something out. So I had done copywriting on Upwork a little bit here and there, just like $5 gigs, $10 gigs. And it was Reddit. I found the CC, and it was Jonathan, who I think a lot of people will say that he's the one who brought them in, kind of welcomed them in. No different with me. And you know, what the CC did for me was really gave me the confidence to pursue copywriting as a full-time gig. And now I'm a full-time freelance copywriter, and I have been for the past 9 months, I think, which is crazy, because I had worked like everybody. I worked like normal jobs, 9-to-5 jobs. I worked retail jobs, just, clocking in and out for lunch, like bullshit like that. And I think it was Gabriela mentioned like identity alignment, and just kind of feeling like this feels right. And if you guys are in the CC, it's probably because something like pulled you or compelled you to pursue that, right? Like something inside says like this feels right. And that's really like how it felt for me. It felt like my whole life had been leading up to this opportunity, and here it is right in front of you. So after I joined the CC, and I started really trying to full-time freelance, and full credit to Upwork. I'm Upwork's biggest fan. Anybody will tell you, I love Upwork, despite what people think about it. In about 3 months, I had made like $6,000 in that third month. And a few months later, I had a $10,000 month, which was crazy. I had, within that, 3-4 months, I had closed a $1,500 a month retainer, and then a $3,000 a month retainer. And, again, the thing that some of the panelists have talked about already, and I think it's important to reinstate, is like, I didn't really have any experience. But what I did have was the CC, and just knowing that if something comes up and I don't know how to handle it, or I can lean on the CC. I can ask a question in questions, or I can DM someone, and that's what I did. And another thing, common element is like failing forward, right? I'm huge on failing forward, and also like just getting the gig and then like panicking your way through it. I say that all the time. It's like, don't wait until you're ready, because you can study books all day, you can hand copy elements of writing all day, and you may never feel ready. But if you just take the step and get the gig, and then kind of back your way through it, like when you can't, someone else mentioned this too, like when you can't fail, it was Elise, like when you have to succeed, right? Like you get thrown in the deep end of the pool and you don't know how to swim. You have two options. Like you learn to fucking swim, or you drown. It's not always that dramatic, I understand. Like if you want to just get into it as a part-time, make some extra money, that's beautiful. All of our stories, I think, are pretty dramatic, and depending on your own situation, it doesn't have to be that. But just having that drive to where if someone hires you, whether it's $25 gig or a $25,000 gig, and then you get hired, they go, okay, you're hired, and then you have to like figure it out, right? You have to have that internal drive to produce good work. So the CC gave me that, and they gave me also just the confidence to like increase my rates, because again, I was on Upwork and I was doing work, excuse me, for $50, $100, landing pages for $200. And all it took was a few more experienced copywriters to look at what I was doing and say, bro, this is a $1,500 job. All you have to do is ask for it. And that's literally like all I did was ask for $1,500, and they would say, yes, that sounds fine. So, and one of the other things about, my situation that's, unique is, I'm not really trying to make 100K a year. I'm trying to live comfortably. And as John alluded to earlier, like just have the freedom of time to help raise my kids, you know, and I don't have to work a 9 to 5, and I can take time for my own health, my own mental well-being, my physical well-being. And I don't have to punch a clock. I don't have to answer to a boss, you know, and that's really what it's about. I'm also not working 80 hours a week or 40 hours a week. I'm probably working 20 or 25 hours a week, maybe. And I'm making relatively about the same as I was making when I was working like full-time retail. So that's something that I think is super important. If you do want to try this part-time, you absolutely can do it in 5 or 10 hours a week. And you may end up replacing your full-time income in half the time. Like that's such a beautiful thing. And I know that's another like carrot that's dangled at the end of like the freelancing freedom funnel, right? Like a laptop, live the laptop lifestyle and work from the beach, which you totally can. But really it's just about freeing up that time to do what you want. Let me see, what other notes do I have here? Yeah, I mean, the CC has been just such a blessing. And I've said it before, it's 100% changed my life, with no exaggeration. And I think there's a lot of people here on the panel and other people just in the CC who can say the same. Just the generosity of the people there, Sean, Luke, John, Alex, Rod. I mean, the list goes on. I don't think I've ever once reached out to someone and they've not given me the time or answered a question, despite how busy they are. So it's a really special place. And if you guys are here now, then just consider yourselves lucky, because it's such a great resource. And you know, and it's free. And just the spirit of like, I love, like Marcelo said, the Successes channel is absolutely like one of the best channels. Just hearing people's wins, whether it's like a first job, hey, I closed a job for $50 on Upwork, like let's fucking go. That's amazing, because you know, it adds up. Like wins like multiply themselves. And it doesn't take much in terms of like how fast things can progress. Like Gabriela's story, pretty much everybody, like it can happen really quickly. It doesn't take years all the time. Sometimes it literally like you're struggle. And then within like a couple of months, all of a sudden it's, you know, you're making real money and doing something you love. That's another thing that's incredible about it, is like, if you love copywriting, and it's not just copywriting either, digital marketing, you know, then you're doing what you love for a living. That's an incredible thing. Another note that I had is just like hanging out in the CC, like, yeah, we have a lot of fun. But also you're surrounding yourself in the language of copywriters, professional copywriters and professional marketers. And just doing that, like when you jump onto a call and you're speaking with a client, even if you feel like maybe you're not super confident yet, you'll know what to say just instinctively, because you've just been saying it and hearing other people say it. At least that's my experience. Yeah. But yeah, it's been amazing. And I'm also like always trying to see how I can give back, right? Because that's such an important part of it. Like Jonathan does office hours, the Copy That show is a great resource that's free to everyone. And just like all day, every day, there's people that are going to critique your work, help you out, help you take that next step, refer a job to you. It's all in the CC. So I think part of everybody's responsibility is, once you have some success, is to turn around and try to pass it on to someone else.
Thank you again very much, Warren West. And on that, I'll throw the mic over to Alex. And then once Alex gives a little spiel, we'll jump into the rest of the panelists.
Yeah, again, I mean, mirrored. Thank you so much, Warren. I appreciate it. Everything you do for CC, your videos, at least 1 or 2 of them make up the How to Start Copywriting Guide, which is, again, free in the CC under the guide section. Like, what more can I say that John hasn't already said, and everyone in the chat has mirrored in their praise of you. So Warren, love you, man. Thank you so much. All right, transitioning very smoothly into the next section of this webinar. The next section of this webinar is just going to be a small, just 5 minutes each, recap of myself, John, Luke, and Sean. We're actually the mods of the Copywriting Collective. I don't know if we've actually mentioned that or not in this. So in case anyone's wondering we're the mods, which is why we've kept quiet while everyone else has been doing their thing. We're just going to recount our stories very quickly, very briefly. They're already out there on the internet, so we're not going to take as much time to go through all the points. So without further ado, I believe John is going first. So John, tell us your story.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Alex. Like Alex said, we don't have a ton of time, so we're not going to dive as deeply into our stories as all of the other amazing panelists did. And I feel like they already covered most of the important points, right? If we look back at the lessons that we learned from each of them, what did we get? We got, you've got to work hard when you're starting, because there are no shortcuts. You have to put in the hours, and that is what's going to launch your career. We got, there are no barriers to entry, right? Nobody has a formal copywriting education. Nobody, well, maybe Warren, he did some copy proper, but nobody really has, like, there's no such thing as a direct response education. You can't go to university for that. Everyone came from a different walk of life, and they established themselves as copywriters with nothing more than sheer power of will. What else did we learn? No matter where you're coming from in the world, no matter how good your English is right now, no matter what you feel your skill level is, you're never going to feel like you're ready. You just have to dive into it, and you just have to make it happen. So with those points in mind, I'm not going to cover those same things, because you guys already understand that, and you've seen 5 incredible copywriters who have applied these theories to their own lives and experienced massive amounts of success. What I am going to say is that my story is very much like all of the other panelists, and I feel like we all share that struggle. I grew up extremely poor. My father left when I was 8 years old, and my mother, no formal college education, very little work experience, well, recent work experience, because she'd been a stay-at-home mom for the last 8 years. And so when my father left, we were in a very bad situation. And if you want to read the full story, you can go into successes and just search for me, and you'll find the full story there. But that was really my motivation, right? Because I know what it's like to see the struggle. I understand what it's like to be poor. I know, just like Marcelo, what it's like to feel hungry. And when you know what that's like, you work every single day to make sure that you don't fall back into that same place. It's like mental health, it's like physical health, it's like anything that you've experienced. If you know rock bottom, you're going to force yourself to stay away from that. And I know that we've all got struggles. We can't all relate to everybody else's struggles. You can't compare your struggles. If you feel like something is difficult for you, then that's all that matters. And I want to impart upon you that that feeling that you have when you think about the worst moments of your life, that is the emotion that you need to leverage in order to push yourself forward, in order to motivate yourself, in order to work every single day to become the copywriter that we all know you can be, the one who's going to post in general, giving advice, the one who's going to go into critiques and help people out, the one who's going to drop successes every 10, 15, 30 days, telling us how much more progress you've made since the last time we heard from you. So it's going to be my speech. I'm going to do a lot more during the Q&A, but I'm going to keep my time short. That way we can go into Luke and hear how he managed to build his career beyond copy to now being one of the top 5 highest paid people inside of the CC.
So, God, it's been a little while since I started. Like the guy said, I'm one of the moderators at the CC. But going back, I think I've always, like when I started, I've always had an interest in business. When I was in university still, I kind of got fed up with what I was doing. So I was studying psychology and statistics. And I was like, I don't want to go into academics. I had a master and PhD track set up. So I had the quote unquote golden ticket right there, but I wasn't really satisfied. So I started creating businesses. So I kind of stumbled on copywriting from entrepreneurship, right? I think I made about 5, 6 startups that all made me $0. They all failed. and that was extremely tough. But I decided to keep going. And at some point, I discovered this, this book by Dan Kennedy, The Ultimate Sales Letter, right? And I was like, oh shit, this might be a way to actually get customers, right? So I read that and was like, okay, this is cool. Like, time to make the next startup, right? Maybe this one will succeed. And I applied some of those copywriting techniques, and I was like, this is actually pretty good, right? That one didn't make money either. But I did decide, all right, well, I do kind of like this. So why don't I see if I can like go further with this, right? So why can't I make this copywriting a thing that I make my money with? That's what I did. I started, like many people here, start writing on Upwork, said yes to any job that I could get. Like I wrote for shady people, I wrote for great people. I did what I had to do to pay my rent, right? And over the course of time, I got to learn many, many more skills other than copy, copy, content strategy, SEO, product creation, business strategy, business operations. And at some point, I even became, a senior executive for a big startup. Kind of funny, right? And now, I'm a co-host of the Copy That Show, and I'm able to share so much value, and I'm able to help other people also make something of their careers. And I think that's something extremely special. It's something that I feel honored to do. But like we said, I'm going to try to keep this short. My story is on the Copy That YouTube, so you can find it there if you really want to. Or if you have any, if you have any questions for me personally, you can always DM me, and I'll see how I can help you. But I would say, like, I've been snowballing, and when you start snowballing, it's always going to be slow. An exponential curve, it goes up, right? But the start of it is going to be extremely slow. So don't give up when things are going slow and when things are tough. Just keep going, and who knows where it's going to take you. That's my story.
Thank you very much, Luke. I don't need to say it. You know how much I love you, Luke. We talk every day.
Love you too.
I don't need to hype you up anymore, because everyone already knows how incredible you are as a marketer and a person. So thank you. On to Sean, Daddy, which is a nickname, not a weird sexual thing. Let's nip that in the bud. Sean.
Yeah, that is a weird sexual thing. I wish I had thought of that before I built an entire brand around myself for that. I'm going to do something a little different from what everybody did. I'm still going to keep it short, because my story's out there. My start, my origin story is all good. I will say, different from a lot of the people on the panel, and different from a lot of the people probably watching this, I feel like a lot of people, one of the reasons why people listen to me, nobody should listen to me, but one of the reasons why they do is because they perceive me as having arrived at the end of the journey that they wish to be on. For example, writing a copy with my feet in the sands of a Panamanian beach. I've done that while sipping a Mai Tai. Earning over $1 million with copywriting that I've made for other people. I've done that. Buy into businesses, done that. Buy a house with my copywriting royalties, done that. Work for I guess what is considered to be the cream of the crop, we've done it. And so I'm less interested in talking about the how I got to the point where I've done it, and I'm more interested in communicating to everybody watching this that even though I've done it, you never wake up in the morning feeling like you've done it. And one of the cool things about this panel that I really hope a lot of people take away is that there is a big mindset component to this business, to freelancing in general, but writing copy, any creative pursuit at large. And one of the things that you sort of realize, like when you're in the thick of you're experiencing what you're experiencing in your day-to-day life, is you never look in the mirror and go, yeah, I made it. Story is over. I still feel like I need to work really hard, harder than anybody else. I still feel like I need to constantly learn, still feel like I need to constantly grow, still feel like I need to constantly hustle. The only thing that really happens once you get to the point that I'm at, and I'm not saying I'm at the top. I'm saying that I've definitely accomplished some things. But once you get to my point, the big difference is not how you perceive yourself. Some people deal with imposter syndrome. I don't really struggle with that. I don't think I've ever really struggled with that. I just kind of throw myself at stuff until it's done. And if I fail, I fail. Which, similar to Gabriela, my first client as a freelancer, and this is actually before I worked at Agora, I met somebody on Craigslist who paid me $5,000 to ghostwrite a book. That was my first freelance gig. And this is before Upwork even existed, because I'm older than all of you, literally. And so one of the things that has occurred over the course of my career is not, the mental stuff, the mindset stuff, the difficulties that you feel in terms of feeling like you need more, feeling like you need to do more, feeling like it's possible to fail. That doesn't go away, ever. What does get better is a certain degree of frictionlessness that occurs as you learn more, as you skill up, as you grow more. The perceptive of you will have noticed in chat earlier when somebody said why would I get started with something if there's a possibility that I might fail? I might sink a time into this and get nothing out of it. And guys, I have to tell you something. Copywriting and marketing is not a video game. If you sit down and play a video game for 6 hours, well, you've devoted those 6 hours to that video game and to nothing else. If you sit down and you devote your time to studying copywriting, studying marketing, things like that, you are literally skilling up. Even if you fail at cultivating a copywriting career, which, most of you probably won't fail in the way that you're imagining. Rather, all those skills that you cultivate, everything that you learn becomes something that can transfer over to everything else. And I'm sure you've noticed, talking to everybody on this panel and listening to everybody on this panel, that we've all done different things and arrived at different things. It's sort of like a reverse funnel in a way, where we all get into this via copywriting and we all went to different spots. And that's not possible unless copywriting unlocks a variety of skills, knowledge, things that you can do that are intrinsically valuable to businesses that want to pay you for your time, basically. And so that is something that I want you guys to keep in mind, that if you struggle with depression, if you struggle with anxiety, if you struggle with a lot of the issues and concerns that you feel on a daily basis, like you're not doing enough, I'm here to tell you that, you can't really control those feelings, no matter how much money you make. Earning a 6-figure salary is not going to make that stuff go away. That's a whole separate thing that you need to work on. And it's possible to make it better. I have years of therapy under my belt to attest to that. And so, but the one thing that I do wish to impart is that, just because that point of arrival that you're hoping to get to, just because that there's still a lot of work involved, at this point too, and still a lot of concerns involved, that doesn't make the journey there meaningless. And it certainly doesn't make it unfruitful for what you want to do. And I think the best feeling that I personally have at this particular point in my life is that if every single income source that I have blows up tomorrow, literally blows up, I just suddenly go from making what I make, that's all in the CC, you can go see the receipts for yourself. If I go to making $0 tomorrow, I had 2 job offers last week. I can literally pick up the phone and call at least a dozen people and have a job by next week. And that is something that is worth working for. And that is something that you achieve, not just by studying copywriting, but also working on those softer skills too. Networking especially is a really profitable one. So guys, hopefully you got a lot out of this, and hopefully that you can sort of experience and see and look back on your own hero's journey and, like me, be like, yeah, I did do some really awesome stuff, and be grateful for it, which I am. And I'm grateful for all of you too, and especially grateful to all of you on this panel. I think y'all are dope as fuck.
Thank you very much, Sean. And as so often after talking with you, you've given me like a new idea to think about and something I hadn't thought of in a certain way before. So that point around the security coming not just from the money and the cash flow, but having the ability to earn that job, that's something I've not actually considered myself. So that's a great point. Thank you very much. And we all return your love and dope feelings. Okay, so I guess it comes on to me then. So I'll give, I don't actually think I have shared my story properly anywhere before. Now I know I said I had, but I don't think there's a video where I actually say like where I came from or exactly what happened. So I'll keep this within a few minutes and then we can move on to the Q&A. So for me, really this started, for full disclosure, when I was about 15, I had my first kind of taste of advertising when I volunteered at a dog rescue. And because I was young, they were like, oh, you must know social media. Do our social media page, because obviously it was full of old people. And I was like, okay. And from that, I also did some leaflets and stuff. And I just really enjoyed the feeling of sending something out into the world and getting like donations back in, seeing like dog food turn up. And I was like, oh man, I actually did that. So that was kind of the first time the bug got in me when I was about 15. Years go by, the dog rescue place closed down, unfortunately. Years go by, I think I might want to do marketing, but not really sure. Not in a great place because I know that I can't go to university. I don't really want to go to university anyway. I have to start earning money for my family. So I look after my mum and my nan, which I know is a really British thing to say. And I basically just needed to pay for care and be there for them. So I didn't have a choice. I'd always been kind of interested in marketing. I knew I wanted to do something maybe in that sphere. But to begin with, after leaving school, I just got an office job straight away, just easy, nothing to do with marketing, nothing to do with copywriting, super boring, in government, and then another one in local government. I was doing that for 2.5 years. But all that while, I stumbled upon something during that time at the beginning of it called copywriting. And I was nearly sold on a kind of get rich quick course when I kind of first started to work out that this thing was called copywriting. But sanity prevailed and I didn't check out because I was like, holy shit. I was like, what? I just nearly spent what was at the time like my savings, and I was doing it on like I was thinking of doing it on an installment plan anyway, so I didn't even have the money. And I was like, shit, I was like, what the fuck was that? How did that work? And then that even got me more interested in the marketing. So I was like, well, I love that idea of being able to persuade someone to that degree. But it was at that kind of point that I was like, right, I know now what I'm going to do. I want to go into marketing. And from there, I just kind of started. This phrase was used earlier on. I think Warren used it about failing forward. I quite often use the phrase like just stumbled your way through, and that's how I view my journey. I just stumbled my way through life, and especially marketing and copywriting, because it has just been a case of I will just pitch people and I will try and do things, and if they work, awesome. If they don't, okay, I'll move on to the next one. And because as Jonathan and a few people have mentioned, like I had that driving force of I need to earn money. I need to look after people in my life. I had to look after my dog, have to look after my mum, have to look after my nan. I was like, I have to do this. So I did have that push behind me. And then one day I was on our copywriting. I've been technically in the sphere of marketing for about a year at that point, doing bits and bobs, doing a bunch of content and stuff. Then I saw a post about like, hey, anyone want to start a copywriting group? So we did. That became the Copywriting Collective. And through that, I met Jonathan and Sean and everyone else on this panel and everyone watching now. Like I met all of you. Jonathan and Sean in particular were huge influences on me and my ability to, I guess, see straight and be able to go like, okay, I know I need to be focusing on these specific things and I need to kind of make sure I'm not jumping around from thing to thing, which I know a lot of you right now will be so enticed to do. did the Copywriting Collective, and then my without going into too much detail and going too granular, because I want to wrap it up, my philosophy was local businesses, message people, prove that I can give them value. And then once I've proved that, they will probably pay me. And that's how I started. And from there, I've then, I kind of hate this term like with a passion, but I have like become like a 6-figure copywriter from that stage, right? Yeah, real virgin. But like that's the truth of it. I didn't have any talents that were more than anyone else. I didn't have like a golden path laid out for me, and like it was, like my dad was a copywriter or something, and like I just went through that. It was just stumbling forward. It took me, I'd say the best part of 2 years to get to a point where I could do it full time. And now I'm here where I can actually share a platform with incredible people, share this stuff for free, because I earn enough money from copywriting and marketing to justify that. And yeah, that's it. So biggest piece of advice for me is stumble your way through, keep going, because guess what? The difference between the people who make it and who are on this panel right now and the people who didn't make it, the difference between them is everyone here just kept going. Like that's it. That is the only difference. So that's my story. And I think this is a pretty good way to wrap up and segue into the Q&A. But before we do, I just want to thank all of the guests we've had on. So thank you, Cody, Elise, Gabriela, Marcelo, Warren. You guys are phenomenal. I love you all. The CC and every single one of you are the reason that I can now do what I love for money. So thank you, because I wouldn't be here without you and your constant daily motivation. And yeah, thank you so much. I'll throw it over to Jonathan or Luke or Sean if anyone wants to say anything else. Sean, anything from you? He's a boomer and he's on mute.
Yeah, I'm a boomer, man. I'm slow. I'm old. Yeah, I am just going to say that I do have a hard stop at 5, but I am going to take a moment to say that, listen, I've said this a million times in a million different ways, but earning money with copywriting, like, people get so skeptical of that notion that you can earn money with words, scammer. And it's like, that's just so ridiculous to me, because it's like businesses need words. They need to pay people for them. All you need to do is just have a modicum of an ability with the English language, written English. And written English is way different from spoken English. So yeah, like, don't even worry about that. Different skills. And just a bit of grit. And Cody says, Sean, I swear I'm a millennial. I am a millennial, damn it. I was born in 1984. Anyway, I'm going to unpin the video so that we can have a sort of like more roundish table, but I also don't know how to do this. Yeah, I think that's it.
Beautiful. It's amazing.
So we should be in gallery view now. No,
I think
we're
it's
not.
just hopping
No.
in between who's talking.
Let's see. I'm so bad.
Someone said you should play more video games, Sean, so you'd press the buttons faster.
Oh my God.
Well, it also makes me laugh because for people going, oh yeah, they're going to try and sell you something at the end, we can't even work the fucking video. So I don't know how we're going to work a landing page in a cart for you to use. All right. Okay. Well, John, I'll leave to you to wrap up the little thing.
Yeah, perfect. So while Sean is figuring that out.
It's not going to happen. I've already given up.
All right, perfect. So just to take another minute, I know that we've said this a million times already, but thank you so much to everyone who showed up. You guys are the reason why we're doing this in the first place. You guys are the reason we promote the Copy Collective as much as we do, and the reason why we put so much work into creating all of these resources for you. I don't know if you are new or if you've been around for a while. I know that some people have just joined. We love helping you guys because we know that we wouldn't be here if people didn't help us in the same way, right? That first generation of copywriters who were in the CC, if we look at me, Alex, Luke, and Sean, Sean probably helped all of us get to where we are, right? Sean's like all the way at the top of that pinnacle. Without the confidence that Sean gave me when I sent him my first piece of copy, and he was like, yeah, that's not too bad, I would have never believed in myself. I know that Alex got that education and that confidence from Sean too. I know that Luke, where he is now, he credits Sean for a lot of his success as well. And then we look at that second generation of copywriters in CC, the people who've been talking as our guests for the last, I guess, 2 hours now. Cody, Elise, Warren, Marcelo, Gabriela, they all came in about 1.5 to a year ago. I guess at least like 3 months ago. But they were able to use what we've now developed to create the careers that they have. And if you see their activity in the CC, they're doing the same that we did when we first joined, which is doing their best to help, giving as much value as they can, and motivating, inspiring, and pushing you guys forward. And that is really the spirit of the Copy Collective. So thank you so much to everyone who took your time to come sit with us today, to take in the motivation, the inspiration, the stories that we have to tell you. And because I know that you're about to go out and you're going to make the best use of this motivation to start your copywriting career, or to push yourself further, or to take the next step on your journey, I'm infinitely grateful to you. And I'm very proud of you for everything that you've done up to this point, everything that you're about to do. And I look forward to seeing you post in successes.
once again, thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you to all you sexy, sexy panelists, especially you, Jonathan. Like, I'm loving what's going on with your hair, man. I really dig it.
It's good.
But mad props. I just like rainbows. Okay, it's not gay.